We have a really big box from InWin today. This is a very premium case. It's a case that is made partially for maybe people doing benchmarking and setting up a test bench, but more likely it's a showpiece. It's a 450 euro case. So it's really, really expensive. And an equivalent case that we use right now for benchmarking costs around 170 euros from Streetcom. So let's open up and see what we've got inside. So for example, our test bench from Streetcom comes in a flat pack and it's tiny. This already comes pre-assembled, so let me just take it out of the box. It's quite heavy, but the box size is a bit misleading. It's around 4.25 kilograms in weight and it's made out of aluminum. Here we have the case itself. It looks a bit like a scorpion slash spider with all the legs and, different kind of angles. And what comes with the case is also a big kind of assortment of different components. I really like the use of a box with spares because this case is really designed to be built and rebuilt and redesigned in whatever creative ways you want to have it set up in. And you have a bunch of things like standoffs, so you can decide what size you want to keep it at. You also have different screws for attaching different devices. So for example, these are here specifically for using the cable ties to cable tie things to the case itself to do cable management. Then you also have your cooling screws. So if you want to install a radiator as an example, or if you don't want to go with a radiator, you have other screws to install just the fans. So it's a different combination of different screws. As you can see, actually, they're all labeled up over here. As far as the case is concerned, this case can support basically any type of standard motherboard you could have, which goes from micro ATX to all the way to eATX. This case comes with two orientations it could be used in, a normal test bench size like this, or you can actually have it in a vertical orientation like this. So it kind of leans across, it's nice and stable, so you can actually show your components out. Which brings it to the use cases. So I've mentioned two use cases. A test bench, we can install different devices, or a showpiece. In the showpiece example, you can actually install a triple 360mm radiator. You just basically open these sections, so it has adjustability. So you literally can go and angle it whichever way you want it to be, and then you lock it down. So it's gonna stay kind of in place. Like it's tension based, but still, you open up, assign it to where you want it to be, and just lock it down. So you can actually have things exposed in a particular way that you prefer. There you go, like this as well, and lock it down. So maybe this one you might want to have it like more out. It's completely up to you. In a test bench example, you can actually install other devices. You can have fans or hard drives. So you can actually have proper hard drive mounting and you have some screws to go with it. Or you can even go as far as installing power supplies. So you can basically install any kind of components that you really like and just have it all set up. And that's probably what we're going to be doing. We're probably going to set this up as a test bench with a bunch of different components, including some measuring devices and whatnot, which will be on a more practical level rather than necessarily good looking. The system itself also comes with a few cool little devices. So for example, this right here is actually a GPU bracket. So if you were to install your GPU in a horizontal or a vertical orientation, you can actually have it lean against one of these devices. So you can actually kind of unscrew it and move it up or down depending where you want it to be installed. And that's very convenient. So for example, the standard orientation for a graphics card would be this way. So you might want to just put this underneath so it doesn't have any sag, but you can actually flip this bracket over and have your graphics card pointing this way. That way, the bottom corner is going to need a bit more support. And that's where you put this little bracket below there to just provide a little bit of support. You can remove these if you don't need, but it's something that is available for you. As far as all the legs and actually all the items, if you really wanted to, you can actually move them around and unscrew. All of these components can be disassembled and moved around to your parts content. You have your standard power supply mount, and the power supply mount could be up to 280mm in length, so it's really big power supplies. You can install SSD or hard drive inside this little cage, and yeah, it's just a lot of different functionality you could do with this. And lastly, we also have a little power button over here, and it's a nice clicky button. I really like that. It's a proper mechanical button. with a nice tactile click to it. And it has a nice braided cable for your, I believe it's power and power switch as well as power LED. So this will actually be lit up, which is going to look nice. So I'm going to go and start setting this up with our test bench and just see what we can get out of it. How does it look? And maybe get some performance or maybe some ideas of what we can utilize this in the future. Let's get to it. And the case is ready. What do you think? It looks part monstrosity, part a piece of art. So it really depends what you want to do and how you want to set it up. I really like the fact that it can be set up in both horizontal and vertical orientation. In the vertical orientation, it doesn't even take up that much space in terms of your table space or floor space, depending how you would place it. While the quality of all the components is extremely good. In terms of design, there are a few things we could improve. For example, these little wings only support 120mm fans. They don't support 140. Also for the motherboard standoffs, those are just standard standoffs without, the captive screws. So if you wanted to build in a vertical orientation, you really shouldn't. What you should do is you build in a horizontal, attach everything together, and then kind of turn it over. And make sure you actually screw things in, because it's actually very easy to feel that you've done everything and then lift it and then everything just drops, because this is really heavy now. One of the things that I did have problems with, it's cooling. So as an example, they do advertise fans on the side on part of the wings, but they do literally nothing other than blow air out. Yes, you could install inverted fans and then adjust this to blow air into your components. But what I think it's more useful for, if you had two or three radiators and then join them together, then it makes sense, because what you'll be doing is just blowing all the air away from the case, especially at these angles. It's quite nice that you can actually, blow the air completely away from the case into the room. Technically speaking, almost use it as a space heater. It's really nice. In terms of the cooler though, I did have an issue. So I have this cooler from Lee & Lee, and it's already pre-assembled cooler with all the components installed. In the box, you have two types of mounting screws. You have ones which are made for your fans and radiator mounting, where you have your fan first and then the radiator. So what you do with these, you'd go through the chassis, fan, radiator. But then your radiator will be at the front, so it's a bit of an issue. You can't mount into it this way. And in my example, my radiator already has these screws inside, and they're kind of inside and hidden, which is nice. And you can't really replace them with these, because these guys have been installed flush mounted. As you can see, this will not fit in that area, in the little hole that is inside. A typical alternative for that is installing the radiator from the other side. But because this case is really thick, the provided screws that come with the actual cooler don't fit. So, and there's no alternative screws you could use in here. So essentially, you're kind of stuck with improvising. In my example, I printed off a little standoffs and I used SSD screws to set it up. So you might need to open up your little screw box and improvise a little bit if you have this kind of setup. But what I get out of it is actually a really nice tube that attaches straight into the socket, and it generally looks really cool. It also has another advantage. I actually generally see this being a really good test bench, because now with this kind of pre-cable tied and everything else, all I need to do is unscrew my cooler, move it to the side, change my CPU and put it back in. In fact, I did that for testing today, and it was super convenient. And what you can do with this, you just kind of flip it over, it just hangs on top, and it's out of the way. Really nice. While building, you really need to think about cable management, because this is an open case and you can see everything. As part of the build, you can use these little cable tie points. There's a bunch of locations at the back you can install them to. As long as you think about it ahead of time, you can pre-install all of these. And what I'd recommend is just pre-install them ahead of time. Install the cable ties like I have right here, and then just open it up, install your cables, whichever you want to go, and kind of tie it down. That way you have a very well organized cabling management at the back, which is easy to adapt. If you do, for example, get one of these and use it as a test bench, well, look, you can literally move things around, change things without having to really undo anything too crazy. Another thing that's kind of cool with this, in vertical orientation like this, it's all open, you can access it. With a normal case, I do remember with my Streacom, I do kind of tilt it to the side, cable manage it and put it back down. In this example, you're not leaning on anything, so you're not going to damage anything. Obviously, if you're leaning on the side, you're going to have damage. But in this case, you can actually kind of lift it and have it like this. It is really cool. Realistically speaking, this case does not make sense. For 450 euros, it's just too expensive and realistically impractical for most people. But when using and setting up, it is really cool. I really enjoyed using it as a test bench, especially when you attach a bunch of extra components like this extra screens and have access to all the components in the motherboard, including all the buttons and any pin headers you want to attach to or change things. It's just right there, ready to go. I'd generally not recommend this for everybody. This is for the select few who want something a bit more special, and well, I'm sure they would be really interested in building this. What do you guys think? Is this something you'd actually build in? Let us know in the comments below.